For those of you who've never been to a City of McAllen engagement like this, we are so honored that you're joining us today. My name is Irma Chapa, and I am the Director of Public Information for the City of McAllen. Thank you. Thank you. You humble me. Thank you. So good morning once again. Today we gather at the McAllen Performing Arts Center to begin National Hispanic Heritage Month in a way unlike any other city in the Rio Grande Valley, with an inaugural celebration that brings together our local leaders, distinguished members of the diplomatic corps from El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Mexico, and partners from our vibrant business community. We are honored to welcome representatives from our federal offices, including U.S. Senators John Cornyn and Ted Cruz, as well as Congresswoman Monica de la Cruz's office. And we also recognize our state leadership from the governor's office, our honored guest, Carlos Ely, Assistant Secretary for Mexican and Border Affairs, Texas Secretary of State. Our state representatives, Sergio Munoz Jr. and Terry Canales, my friend. We are especially pleased to welcome members of the diplomatic corps, including consul generals from El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Mexico. Locally, we are proud to acknowledge our mayor, who unfortunately could not be here today, Javier Villalobos, our city commissioners, and our valued partners from CBP, the McAllen Chamber of Commerce, South Texas College, Texas A&M University, and our own UT-RGV. And finally, we thank our city manager, Isaac Tawil, along with the McAllen leadership team for their dedication and vision to allow our international department to bring us all together. It is my pleasure now to introduce to you our Assistant City Manager, Juan Olaguibel.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this inaugural event. We look forward to hearing from two remarkable keynote speakers who will discuss issues affecting our region and highlight the uniqueness of our community. As part of the international efforts, we have established mechanisms to promote economic diplomacy by showcasing our international bridges, international airport, and high quality of life. Our border is a dynamic hub that fosters economic mobility, and McAllen serves as the gateway to the North American supply chain corridor. With the anticipated opening of the Anzaluas International Bridge for full cargo, we are confident that our region will continue to be one of the most successful in the nation. These initiatives would not be possible without the support of our mayor, our city commissioners, and our city manager. Your support and guidance have shaped our international agenda. Thank you for that. Now, to discuss today's program, please join me in giving a warm welcome to our very own Commissioner, Tony Aguirre.
Buenos dias, good morning. I'm actually taking Javier's place this morning. He was in Tampico Madero earlier this week, and I think it got the better of him. So he's not joining us. I got a call last night that he was not feeling well, but he'll get through it. But I'm here on his behalf to tell you muchas gracias for being here. He's out here working, and we love doing anything and everything we have to do for our community. I want to thank you all again for being here. This is extremely important. We appreciate your presence on this occasion. Our city is and will always be an international city, bicultural city. And we feel, first of all, que queremos dar las felicidades a El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, y Mexico on their independence anniversary this week. Today's inaugural event brings together the diplomatic corps, business community, and academia to explore various phases of diplomacy to discuss our city that has built a strong foundation that will help us to lead us through another international stage in the Rio Grande Valley. We are the leaders in this area, and we are very, very proud that this whole area, this whole Rio Grande Valley, northern Mexico, will succeed with the guidance of leadership, with the guidance of information that will take us to the next step. We cannot ever forget our past, without a doubt, but we can't dwell on it. We are living in today's world, and we need to know what is going to get us to the future. And we, as this community, wants to prepare us all for us to take the steps necessary for us to succeed, so that our kids, our grandkids, will want to choose to stay in this area. I am proud to say that our city, we are creating unique opportunities for the future. We are proactively addressing community issues from global perspective, and we continue to connect with international shareholders as yourselves. We also are supporting investment, talent, and innovation while enhancing our competitiveness. Education, culture, art, technical training, and city-to-city partnerships, both here and abroad, are all part of our city's collaborative efforts to promote solid international relations. Today, enjoy today's presentations. Let's gather our thoughts, gather our minds together so in the future we can work together and be a better Rio Grande Valley, northern Mexico. Gracias.
Thank you, Commissioner Aguirre, for your inspiring words. As always, our commissioners are on the go, traveling, meeting with leaders, and representing McAllen. No matter how busy their schedule, they never stop giving wholeheartedly, and they are true servants. Now, we are honored to hear from Rebecca Olaquivel, Director of Retail and Business Development.
Good morning. We are so delighted to see friends and partners who have traveled from near and far to join us at this special gathering. As we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, we in the Rio Grande Valley have the unique opportunity to reflect on the richness of our shared heritage and the strength of our cross-border economy. At the heart of this celebration is not only commerce, but humanity. Building bridges, strengthening partnerships, and working together to create opportunities for our communities. None of this would be possible without the strong support and vision of our city leadership. It is now my honor to introduce someone who leads with dedication and commitment to McAllen's continued growth, our city manager, Mr. Isaac Tewell.
What a group. Good morning, everybody. Let me start by recognizing how privileged we are to have three fantastic guests with us today. Mr. Ely, Mr. Boucher, Dr. Roman, thank you all for making the time to be with us here in McAllen. Also, before I make the remarks I have prepared, I want to recognize our representative delegations in Austin and Washington. The work they do tirelessly fighting to improve our community in McAllen and the entire Rio Grande Valley, the constituents you represent, is deeply, deeply appreciated and recognized. So to you all, thank you very much for the hard work you do for us. It is not easy. And to my city commission, yeah, absolutely. To my city commission, thank you all for having the vision to allow us to engage in programs like we do. It is through your leadership that we are able to help this community grow to what it is becoming and what it is going to become. And so thank you all for your tireless work for McAllen. Lastly, to my staff, to my management team, Michelle, Juan, I know Elvira's here, Jeff, and Daniela especially today in putting this program together. Thank you for elevating yet again what McAllen does. It is a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into these kinds of programming, but the results are tangible and meaningful, and thank you for what you do. So this says I'd like to begin. I know I started a while ago, but I'm going to pick up with a quote from one of our keynote speakers. In today's interconnected world, communities that invest in smart, strategic, international engagement will thrive. Those who do not risk falling behind, vulnerable, isolated, and missing the opportunities their residents need. Max, thank you for saying that. This idea resonates deeply with our work in the City of McAllen. We believe in the importance of regional and cross-border networks, and we recognize that today's world demands strategic global partnerships to address our local challenges and unique realities. Commissioner Aguirre mentioned it. I said this yesterday when we met with Dr. Boucher, Dr. Roman and Mr. Boucher. McAllen is often thought of, the Rio Grande Valley is often thought of as being at the end of the line. And I beg to differ with anybody who says that. I will challenge you and tell you we are in the middle of everything. We are the gateway to Texas. We are the gateway to the United States and the connection between two deeply interconnected cultures. And so we build on those strong relationships, not only with Mexico, but also with Central America and other nations. From intergovernmental agreements to trade missions, we are dedicated to the exchange of ideas, knowledge, and innovation, which require our city's commitment. We understand that nurturing these relationships today will lead to a brighter future. International economic engagement is central to our mission and our success. We aim not only to elevate McAllen on a global platform, but also to bring global opportunities to our community and the entire Rio Grande Valley. Cultural affinities, economic diplomacy, and intergovernmental partnerships position McAllen as a robust international business center for foreign investors, bringing numerous benefits to our stakeholders, residents, businesses, and most importantly, the next generations. I'd like to take this opportunity now to recognize National Hispanic Heritage Month, a very meaningful celebration that has brought our community together now for 5 years. Daniela, thank you for those programs. Thanks to the invaluable support, additionally, of the Mexican and Central American consuls that share our home with us. I extend my heartfelt appreciation to the consuls for their unwavering dedication and commitment to providing vital services to their nationals, as well as for the exemplary efforts they make in promoting the rich cultures of their nations. El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, y México. Gracias por su sincera amistad y servicio a la ciudad. Recuerden que McAllen es su segundo hogar.
Thank you so much to our city manager. And now, please welcome Daniela Plata, Director of International Relations for the City of McAllen. Daniela was appointed to this newly created role in 2024 and is working tirelessly to build strategic partnerships to connect McAllen with Latin America.
Good morning, buenos dias. Thank you for joining us today as we celebrate the connections that make our city a special and dynamic place in South Texas. Intergovernmental initiatives designed to enhance cooperation are essential for fostering strong international relations. In our city, we have developed strategies and programs such as Friendship and Sister Cities, firefighters exchange programs, and roundtables for sharing best practices, all of which continue to strengthen our ties with various stakeholders in Mexico and Central America. To discuss the importance of binational cooperation for a more sustainable future, we welcome our guest of honor, Mr. Carlos Ely, the Assistant Secretary of State for Mexican and Border Affairs at the Texas Secretary of State, a position he has held since 2022. He leads cross-border initiatives, advises the governor and state agencies on Texas-Mexico relations, and promotes collaboration among governments. Additionally, he facilitates cooperation among federal, state, and local governments in both countries to strengthen binational engagement. Carlos is also part of the Rio Grande Minute negotiation team and coordinates meetings for the Border Trade Advisory Committee, working on issues like water management and cross-border commerce. Previously, he was the Director of Economic Development at Cross National Advisory Partners and has international experience from roles in Shanghai, Mexico City, and the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. He holds an MBA from Southern Methodist University and a dual bachelor's degree in Business Administration and Economics from Trinity University. Please help me welcome Mr. Carlos Ely.
Muy buenos días a todos y a todas. Good morning. It is an honor to join you here at this inaugural morning of diplomacy honoring Hispanic heritage. I want to thank Mayor Villalobos, even though he's not here. I want to thank City Manager Tawil and the City Commissioners, and our partners in the Diplomatic Corps of Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Mexico for their leadership in making this celebration possible. I also want to recognize the community and business leaders here, as well as all those who work every single day to strengthen bonds between Texas and our neighbors in Mexico and Central America. Thank you for the invitation to share this special morning. For 5 years, the City of McAllen has celebrated Hispanic Heritage Month side by side with the Diplomatic Corps. Today's inaugural Morning of Diplomacy adds a new layer of purpose to honor heritage and by imagining our shared future. That future, whether you live in Matamoros, McAllen, or Monterrey, will be shaped by how well we cooperate across borders for a more sustainable and resilient region. Here in the Rio Grande Valley, the border is more than a line. It is a region, an interconnected ecosystem of people, water, energy, and commerce. A truck crossing Far Reynosa today carries the same microchips that will power Houston hospitals tomorrow. And when drought strikes in the Rio Bravo, or a hurricane makes landfall at South Padre, we are reminded that nature doesn't stop at the river and community doesn't end at the border. The policies we craft and the partnerships we forge must therefore be binational by design. That is why binational cooperation is so important. By working together, Texas and our neighbors in Mexico and Central America can build a future that is more prosperous and sustainable. Sustainability means investing in the resilience of our shared environment, from the Rio Grande to the Gulf. It means expanding trade and infrastructure in ways that benefit both sides of the border. And it means recognizing that the health of our communities and economies are linked. As we commemorate the independence of Mexico and Central American republics during our flag ceremony, let us also declare our interdependence and reaffirm our commitment to a future of partnership. This celebration honors legacy of resilience and contribution, but it also calls us to do what our ancestors did, strengthen ties across borders. I'm proud to work alongside many of you, from Mexican consuls to US diplomats to county commissioners and local mayors, who understand that binational cooperation is not a luxury. It is the engine of our economy, the backbone of our security, and the heart of our identity. Hispanic Heritage Month reminds us that our culture thrives on connection. By advancing binational cooperation, we honor that heritage, not only with words, but with action that outlives us. May our shared border continue to be the bridge of prosperity and green innovation for all. As we raise our flags today, let us also raise our sights to a future where diplomacy is local, where sustainability is shared, and where McAllen continues to be a model of how border communities lead with collaboration. On behalf of the Secretary of State and the state of Texas, thank you for the work you do every day to move our communities forward, and thank you for letting me be a part of it. I look forward to continuing our shared work for a more connected and sustainable region. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Carlos. Una de las fortalezas de esta gran ciudad son sus excepcionales relaciones con las distintas misiones consulares establecidas en nuestra ciudad. Conexiones que están basadas en un espíritu de colaboración y mutuo respeto. Recibamos en este momento a nuestra cónsul de Honduras, Doris Cáceres.
Muy buenos días. Se escucha bien un poco de español también. Es para mí un honor estar frente a tan distinguida audiencia en esta ocasión tan especial para El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras y México. Como cónsul de Honduras y presidente del Grupo de Concertación Consular TRICAMEX, agradezco a las autoridades de McAllen, al alcalde, comisionados, administrador, por reconocer el gran trabajo y dedicación de los cuerpos diplomáticos establecidos en esta ciudad. También expreso mi gratitud de incluir la celebración del Mes Nacional de la Herencia Hispana como uno de los ejes de acción para unir a nuestras naciones, destacar nuestra contribución. Pero, ¿qué significa celebrar el Mes de la Hispanidad en Estados Unidos? ¿Qué es hispanidad? ¿Quiénes somos como nación? Para conocer un poco de estas respuestas, les invito cordialmente a que podamos ver este video.
Como salvadoreño, como representante del gobierno del presidente Nayib Bukele, esta ocasión es propicia para celebrar los aportes de la comunidad salvadoreña para el desarrollo de esta gran nación. Nos unen lazos históricos, tenemos principios y valores en común. Sabemos del reconocimiento de nuestra diáspora tiene en diferentes escenarios estadounidenses. Hoy, más que antes, nos llenamos de orgullo al decir que somos salvadoreños y estamos emocionados de ser parte de esta importante celebración, donde se reconoce el valor de la herencia hispana en esta tierra. Ser latino, ser hispano, es formar parte de este crisol de tradiciones, costumbres y expresiones culturales. El español es hablado por más de 41 millones de personas en este país y eso representa el 13% de la población. Todo eso hay que celebrarlo. Ser hispano significa ser descendiente de una raza apasionada por la vida, alegre, optimista, trabajadora, que disfruta de la familia y que vive de sus tradiciones, su cultura, su gastronomía. Significa ser parte de un privilegiado grupo que no se olvida de sus raíces. Orgullosos de su identidad, su idioma, su música, sus ritmos, sus colores. Ser hispano es sinónimo de felicidad y de muchas carcajadas. Hemos pasado de ser el país más violento del mundo a ser el más seguro del hemisferio occidental. Somos pequeños geográficamente, pero inmensos en el abanico de opciones de turismo. Las distancias cortas entre destinos permiten que a las 8 a.m. desayunes en San Salvador, que a las 9 llegues a una de las mejores playas del mundo a surfear, que a las 2 p.m. admires la historia de joya de Serén, que es la Pompeya Maya, y que a las 4 p.m. estés en lo alto de un volcán, bebiendo uno de los mejores cafés del mundo, mientras te deleitas de los espectaculares atardeceres de púrpura y de oro que te ofrece esta nación y que ahora está en el ojo del turista internacional. Quien una vez nos visita, se enamora y regresa para volver a disfrutar del calor de nuestra gente. ¡Que viva El Salvador!
Celebrar la herencia hispana en Estados Unidos es reconocer la profunda interconexión de nuestras historias y el papel determinante que las comunidades hispanas han desempeñado en la construcción de esta nación. Es una oportunidad para visibilizar nuestras contribuciones en todos los ámbitos: económico, social, gastronómico, cultural y académico, reafirmando que nuestra identidad es una fortaleza que enriquece el presente y proyecta el futuro. Ser hispano es formar parte de una comunidad que trasciende fronteras y generaciones. Es hablar un idioma que une continentes, aportar valores que nos conectan y preservar tradiciones que, aún lejos de casa, siguen latiendo con fuerza. Es ser embajadores de una herencia viva que dialoga con el mundo y se reinventa sin perder su esencia. México es historia que respira en sus ciudades y pueblos. Es el sol que ilumina desiertos y costas y la sombra fresca de sus montañas y selvas. Es el color que estalla en mercados y festivales, el aroma del maíz recién hecho, el café de olla y la dulzura del cacao. Es la música que nace del alma, del mariachi que emociona, de la marimba que abraza, del canto que acompaña cada celebración. México es su gente, cálida, solidaria, resiliente, una nación que abre el corazón y la puerta al visitante y en cada gesto refleja orgullo y dignidad. Hoy celebramos nuestra herencia con la certeza de que es un puente entre culturas y un faro de identidad para las nuevas generaciones. ¡Que viva México!
Guatemala conmemoró 204 años de independencia del Reino de España. Su riqueza cultural es innegable y para la comunidad guatemalteca en Estados Unidos es un orgullo mostrar la cultura y la contribución que nuestra gente aporta con su trabajo y su esfuerzo al crecimiento de este gran país. Ser hispano en este contexto es sentirse orgulloso por nuestra diversidad cultural conectada por un mismo idioma. Mi país se encuentra en Centroamérica. Tiene una población estimada de 18.5 millones de habitantes. Guatemala es pluricultural. Existen 22 etnias mayas, además de los ladinos, xincas y garífunas, para un total de 25 grupos étnicos. Con rica gastronomía y multilingüe, Guatemala es un lugar acogedor con aroma a café de renombre, rodeado por sus montañas, sus valles y diversidad de climas. Por todo esto y su calidez, la alegría de nuestra gente se nos conoce en el mundo como el país de la eterna primavera. ¡Que viva Guatemala!
Significa un legado de cultura e historia de personas de origen español, latinoamericanos y caribeños en Estados Unidos. Es la transferencia de costumbres, valores para su preservación, no importando dónde nos encontremos. Ser hispano es orgullo, somos personas que tenemos raíces de ascendencia de países donde el español es el idioma predominante. Incluye personas de España y de países latinoamericanos hispanohablantes. Somos personas con características similares, resiliencia, alegría, trabajo, luchas, etc. Para empezar, Honduras es el corazón de América, con una gran diversidad cultural, impresionante geografía montañosa, abundante biodiversidad, impactante historia maya con 2 litorales, Mar Caribe al norte y Océano Pacífico al sur, con cadenas montañosas, una meseta central, flora, fauna, bosques, selva, ríos, lagos, sitios arqueológicos, testimonio de la civilización maya, con una economía en constante desarrollo, con exportaciones de café, de tabaco, cacao, una extraordinaria diversidad cultural, resultado de la mezcla de influencias indígenas, africanas, europeas y mestizas. Honduras es música, comida, fiesta, playas, ecoturismo, arrecifes bien conservados. Nos identificamos por esa garra catracha que nos hace reponernos ante cualquier adversidad. Dios bendiga a Honduras. ¡Que viva Honduras! Bien. ¡Qué hermoso! Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you so much to Mr. Ely and to Consul Cáceres and to our MCM team who brought countries to life through images. Your production is always appreciated. Next, please join me in welcoming Pepe Cabeza de Vaca, Commissioner District 6, representing our local leadership along our mayor, Commissioners Tony Aguirre, Rolando Rios, Rudy Castillo, and Sebi Haddad. Together, these leaders work tirelessly to support our neighborhoods, promote community initiatives, and ensure voices of McAllen residents are heard. We appreciate you. I love that you're out there in the communities. Last week, he was supporting a football team, correct? Yes. Out in the fields, and it doesn't matter what event it is, you are there shining bright, and we appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Buenos días. Good morning. I'm very happy to be here today. As many of you guys know, I grew up in Mexico City, I'm from families from Tamaulipas, from Reynosa. Did my high school here at McAllen Memorial High School. Then went to Monterrey for college, Monterrey, Mexico. So Hispanic heritage is very dear to my heart, very, very dear to my heart. Have many, many, many memories, of course, in Mexico. I have dear friends in Guatemala. I've been in Roatan, Honduras, beautiful place. El Salvador, I cannot say enough right now with El Salvador. They're going through a very positive change over there with what the President Bukele is doing over there, and we are very happy. And of course, as you know, we are interconnected. Here in McAllen, we are multicultural, and yet, you know, of course, it's mostly Hispanics, but we understand the whole collaboration. You know, now we love to interconnect, we love to go out there and create relationships with other countries and other cities. So that moves us forward culturally and economically. So it is remarkable that we gather today to celebrate diplomacy and recognize the exceptional consular relationships we have developed over the years. Diplomacy is no longer solely the responsibility of federal governments. Cities are now leveraging their influence to engage with other nations. This approach helps to protect political, economic, and cultural relationships while promoting a respectful environment. Into the city and state diplomacy, we welcome Max Boucher, the Director for State and Local Diplomacy at the Meridian International Center in Washington, D.C., where he launched a new center focused on empowering city, state, and local leaders in global engagement. He leads research and policy efforts on how subnational governments develop international strategies that advance economic development, national security, climate action, and democratic resilience. Previously, Max served as Director for City and State Diplomacy at the Truman Center for National Policy and held the senior positions at the Brookings Institution, where he coordinated networks of cities worldwide and developed a database on U.S. national diplomacy. Max is a term member of the Council of Foreign Relations. Please help me welcome Max Boucher.
Hello, buenos dias. Thank you. It's really a great honor to be here in this really beautiful temple of culture. I'm really honored to be here at the invitation of City Manager Tawile and Director Plata for the first anniversary of the city's International Affairs Department. It's also really humbling to see here so many regional leaders and partners gathered to celebrate this anniversary and to join together around a common goal, making McAllen a thriving global community and a key hub for trade, investment, and cultural connections for the Rio Grande Valley, but also beyond, for Texas, for the United States. And I can't help but think that this is crucial today. We need to hear more success stories about the value of US global engagement and the value of those critical ties with our neighbors in the South. Today more than ever. And this goal is really the mission of everyone here in this room. The city government, of course, but also business leaders who create this environment for trade and investment, banking institutions, which are here as well, that provide the crucial financing for foreign investments, cultural and academic actors here as well, who create this space for innovation, creativity, and talent, and of course gateway organizations from the airport, the port of entry, that connect McAllen to the world. And when we look at other cities that have succeeded, gathering these partners together is really the secret sauce. So congratulations for making this happen today. Why am I here? I work in Washington, D.C. It's my first time, I confess, to South Texas. And I'm here to learn about this great government innovation, which is the Department for International Affairs. I worked at Meridian International Center. We are a diplomatic institution in Washington. For the past 65 years, Meridian has been supporting America's diplomacy. We work with the US State Department, with foreign embassies in Washington. But we know that in 65 years, diplomacy has changed. As it was just said, new leaders, new actors from the business community, from academic institutions, from sports, and our mayors, governors, city managers, local leaders are today crucial ambassadors for this country. And this is the nature of my work. We work with city governments and states across the country to support their international affairs. So what does it mean for a city to engage in diplomacy? Let me show you first, instead of telling you. This is a research project that we did to capture and visualize the international connections of US cities and states. My apologies, this is not McAllen yet, because we have not done that work and that survey for McAllen, but I know, Daniela, that we will do it. So I'm showing a visualization that we did for your neighbor in San Antonio, which has engaged in this work for the past 2 decades. And this really shows here diplomacy in action. We visualize the political capital and connections that mayors across political cycles have deployed to connect San Antonio with partners, as we see in the South, but also all around the world, in Asia and Europe and in Africa. And this shows how a city can leverage over time its economic weight, its political capital, its cultural assets, its innovation capacity to connect with partners around the world. It's important to get a sense of the scale of, compared to other cities across the country, McAllen is engaging, and so much has already been done in McAllen. This shows across the country the amount of international connections that cities and states are developing with foreign partners. So this shows the geography of city and state diplomacy across the US. You see that coastal cities, of course, are engaging a lot, but all across the United States. From the South, in the Midwest, city and state leaders know that they can't afford not to engage globally. And from our perspective in Washington, this shows the importance of the work that you're doing, of city and state diplomacy as a ballast for US alliances, regardless of what happens at the national level. So this shows how those connections that are driven locally maintain America's engagement with the world. And more than ever, the rest of the world is looking at how America is connecting, and beyond Washington, looking at those connections driven by cities like McAllen. On the flip side, this shows where US cities and states are going and with which foreign governments, foreign partners, they are connecting. And as you can see, in East Asia, in Europe, across Central and South America, US cities and states are building these durable connections. So this is my key message, that cities and states cannot afford not to engage globally. And so the question is whether or not they should develop international partnerships, but how to do it strategically, with purpose, in a coordinated way. And this is the moment that McAllen is in. With political leadership making a decision that McAllen will have a proactive approach to its international connections. And every city goes through this journey. About 10 years ago, we were working with the city of San Diego, which was revisiting its international strategy. And at the time, local leaders in San Diego were saying, well, being on an international border, being a coastal city, doesn't necessarily make us a global city. We remain under-recognized for our potential. Our story is not heard by our international partners. So how do we organize? How do we leverage our assets? And how do we compete with other organizations and locations? And so this is what city and state and local diplomacy is about. It's about developing a proactive and organized strategy, connections and partnerships to enhance the city's global position and advance local priorities. It's about recognizing the importance of those international connections. It's about strengthening the economic position of the city at the global level. It's about preparing the community to interact in an interconnected world. It's also about equipping the city and its partners to manage global risks and disruptions that are now at your doorstep. It's also thinking about perception. How is McAllen perceived in the country and around the world? It's about, beyond a brand or a slogan, it's about telling McAllen's story to international partners and to articulate the value that McAllen brings to its international partners. And McAllen has great assets, from its strategic geographic location, of course, to its multicultural workforce. But assets alone don't create results. Strategy does. And McAllen has a great story to tell the world, showing that it doesn't endure its geographic position, but strategically leverages it as an asset for economic development and a positive narrative about its international DNA. And when thinking about the value of an innovation, like the new International Affairs Department, it's sometimes helpful to think about the cost of inaction. What would McAllen loses if it's not engaging strategically? A city, we observe, that keeps a reactive posture, especially at the border, is vulnerable to external forces. The local community remains unprepared for global disruption. The local government can be exposed to operational and reputational risks. A city that only reacts also misses opportunities. Business deals, talent, go to your peers and neighbors that are better prepared. So this government innovation, that is the International Affairs Department, is really the answer to that. To, instead of letting others shape your reality and your story, McAllen is taking advantage of its assets and controlling the narrative. So city and state diplomacy is not an option, it's really an imperative for cities. And these are, in our experience, the three main goals of this work. First, it's going to be obvious for everyone here, global economic competition is highly local. Companies choose specific cities and regions, not countries or states. Supply chain disruptions impact local communities. A city must engage to position its businesses for trade, for foreign investments. You need to engage to expand your visitors' economy, bringing tourists and consumers here. And McAllen is already leading the way by leading these trade missions and delegations to foreign locations. And it's important to know that those delegations and missions are not junkets. On the contrary, they are the key way that cities cultivate connections and relationships with partners that down the road, and it takes time, down the road bring those crucial benefits back home. Factories, jobs, innovation. Second, these connections that McAllen is cultivating are not just economic. but there are a multi-layered tissue of partnerships across any issue that the city is seeking to solve. A way for McAllen to engage, the benefit is to tap innovations from other cities around the world, from public safety to infrastructure. This is a way to share lessons from McAllen, but also bring innovations here. It's also about developing connections across culture and academic institutions that, again, build these foundations for durable relationships. And third, it's about influence. First, influence as in perception, as I mentioned earlier, how McAllen is positioned to tell its story to the world. And perception matters, and we've seen cities across the United States often having to take a look at how media or perception is talking about the city, from Louisville to Chicago to Washington, D.C., where I live. Cities seeking to take control of how the rest of the world or the nation is perceiving them. But it's also about political influence. Cities are not the front lines of any major global challenges that we're facing. And so for a city like McAllen to engage globally, it's also its ability to enhance its political influence towards other levels of government. For the past 10 years that me and my colleagues have done that work, we've observed how it looks like in practice. How are cities and states engaging and acting on their strategy? You have basically three ways for cities to develop their international connections. One is, as it was mentioned earlier, developing bilateral connections with partners. McAllen already has, I think, 13 sister cities partnership. These are crucial. These are very durable connections over decades that build special relationships with partners, sometimes from cultural connections, but that then can become crucial, tangible partnerships across business and trade. But you also have other ways to connect, more time-bound partnerships. McAllen, for instance, signed recently an MOU with the World Trade Center of Monterrey. And these are industrial-specific partnerships on innovation and trade and business development. It's also about developing connection with national governments. And we see around the world national governments, foreign partners coming to Washington, but also they go to Arkansas and Texas and California and Louisiana to engage with local communities. And McAllen, it's obvious, has already developed long-standing relationships with consulates here. Another way that is also striking on when we observe how cities are connecting with the world is about networking. And that's really the secret weapon of cities. Because national governments are often more constrained in how they can engage diplomatically with allies and adversaries around the world. Cities and local leaders are pragmatic. You have very tangible problems to solve, and you speak the same language as other local leaders around the world. And so one of the most interesting and fascinating phenomenon in international relations over the past 30 years has been the rise of city networking. You have now about 300 global city networks around climate, environment, migration. You can pick any issue, you will find a global city network that McAllen can connect with. And third, and I'll talk about this point because it's critical, it's about strategy and governance. And here again, this new department is critical because we are observing that cities across the United States, some of them are embracing this by embracing a more sophisticated approach to the international engagement, by hiring dedicated staff, sometimes former diplomats, to be equipped to advise local leaders on international affairs. And I wanted to share and with a few tactical lessons that we've gathered from our work with local leaders and cities in the US and around the world. We've worked with cities like Buenos Aires and Mexico City, but also Pittsburgh, Bristol in the UK, Paris, Nice, to learn about the best practices and the successful ways that local communities deploy to engage with purpose and in an outcome-oriented way. The first step is the one that McAllen is already taking by developing a global roadmap and a strategy. It is striking to see that so few cities in the US have a plan. And this is critical to be able to communicate to your partners, to communicate to voters and constituents about the goals of this international engagement. This also is critical because it enables to have a strategy across political cycles. Foreign partners need continuity and durability and transparency. And so having a global roadmap, a multi-year roadmap, enables that continuity over political cycles. And cities like New York City and Los Angeles have international plans, but also, cities like San Antonio, Pittsburgh, Louisville, Kentucky are developing a roadmap that they can also revisit every few years depending on benefits and outcomes. The second lesson is really around using data and evidence. And Dr. Roman, here we have a partner that will help you do this, but also data that comes from all of the sectors and leaders that I mentioned here earlier, from your business sector, from academic institutions, from gateway institutions, to be clear-sighted about your assets and develop a strategy that is distinct compared to other cities in the regions, in the state, and in the country. To end up prioritizing your strategy. We are seeing cities that successfully position themselves in a distinct way. And this is where foreign partners react by identifying the particular value that the city is bringing. Columbus, Ohio, for instance, very specific specialization on smart mobility. Des Moines around insurance technology. And so for McAllen as well to be able to project the specific distinct asset that is bringing to its foreign partners. Third, it's about staying targeted with a manageable number of priorities. A common pitfall for cities is to attempt to engage too broadly, and governments with very limited resources need to concentrate where they can deliver meaningful results. So manageable amount of goals and prioritizing your engagements. Fourth, organization. First, organizing at the regional level. And that's something that we were debating yesterday with City Manager Tawile. In our experience, the economic unit is the regional level, the metro level. And the economic prosperity of a city goes as far as the economic prosperity of its neighbors. And the economy doesn't stop at the jurisdiction of a city, but it's about the interactions of firms and workforce and clusters and higher education that might sit within, but also outside the boundaries of the city. And so thinking about this strategy over time as a regional play is often a key to success. It is not easy. It's about managing the civics and the governance of a region, but down the road thinking regionally is critical, and I know McAllen has already done this with partner south of the border. It's also organizing across sectors, and that brings me back to my first point, bringing together all of the actors across business, academia, gateway institutions to fill gaps. Resource will always be limited, but doing this efficiently by bringing together every resource of ideas, of funding, and row in the same direction is critical. And last but not least, measuring and communicating. You will always have skeptics for this work. And this applies for the most visibly global city, Los Angeles, New York City, local leaders always have to justify to their partners and constituents why they even do that work. It's often because they lack the language and the metrics and the data to explain the value of this work. And so being able to measure and track the value of those connections down the road will be a way to communicate and also widen the circle of your supporters. So with this International Affairs Department, McAllen has really added a powerful tool to its economic development toolbox, one that complements and amplifies everything you're already doing. And so when done right, strategically, measurably, and tied to local benefits, these international connections deliver more benefits per dollar than almost any other local investments you can make. And McAllen is showing to other border cities, other communities across Texas and across the US what strategic international engagement looks like. And I look forward to seeing this success for McAllen, for the Rio Grande Valley, but also for the United States. And I look forward to continuing our exchanges with you. Thank you.
So at this time, from the audience, media, you'll get to interview our presentation speakers after all of the presentations, but are there any questions from the audience for Max? Olivia, I see that your eyebrow went up, but any questions? Okay, perfect, thank you, thanks. We now welcome back our city manager, Ike Tewills, to formally introduce our next presentation.
Wow, thank you. That was awesome. Well, I am incredibly honored to have the pleasure of introducing to you a great friend of the City of McAllen, Dr. Belinda Roman. She is an associate professor of economics at St. Mary's University in San Antonio. She was a previous professor of economics at Palo Alto College in San Antonio, is actively involved in various professional organizations, serving as president of the Association of Social Economics, and holding board positions in San Antonio the San Antonio Business and Economic Society, among many others. Her research includes collaborations with the Brookings Institute and economic impact studies with the Saber Research Institute, focusing on regional economies and assisting the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Before her academic career, she worked on rural electrification projects in Latin America, held roles in the U.S. House of Representatives and various entities in London. She is a fellow of the National Science Foundation funded Diversity Initiative for Tenure in Economics and received recognition from the Wall Street Journal as the most accurate forecaster for 2023 from its panel of economists. Currently, yeah, let's go. Currently, she is the chief economist for Roman Economics, where she conducts economic impact studies for local governments and organizations, including projects related to workforce solutions and the effects of COVID-19 on local economies. Her recent work includes analysis for the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo, the Alamo Colleges District, and most importantly, the City of McAllen regarding cross-border shopping impacts. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome a dear friend of the City of McAllen, Dr. Belinda Roman.
Good morning, and thank you very much for that introduction. I almost don't recognize myself, actually. Well, I am so honored and so privileged to be here and to celebrate with McAllen and to be on this journey with you. Thank you very much, Daniela, for thinking of me and for my friends and partners there at Economic Development in the city. I'm very excited to present what we've been working on it's been a year now almost. So it's a little detailed, but I think it's important that we know what McAllen is. And the conversation you're having is about globalized growth, but it all starts at home. And that is the purpose of this investigation that I've been working with economic development. So the title here is Economic Diplomats of McAllen, and it's actually McAllen and the cross-border sharper that I think starts it all. And this has been a question that we ask ourselves regularly, especially along the border. We know that city-to-city collaborations can create all kinds of economic exchange, ideas, development, trade, investment. It's the people that do it, not the institutions. It's the people. So for City of McAllen, the daily life thrives when Reynosa crosses the border and engages. But this has always been a question. It's like, what does that actually look like? How do we measure it? What does that mean to us? And I found this quote in an earlier newspaper article about how important Mexico is to the city of McAllen. It's the city's city manager who made the quote, discussing in February the growth of sales tax revenue. But how do we measure it? How do we quantify it? Data is everything in many ways. And so we have to substantiate it and prove it. So I'm happy to report today that I think we've found a way, and a very innovative way to do it. So how did we do it? We used cellular data. So everybody in this room probably has their cell phone with them. And so that cell phone is actually you walking around and everywhere you go. And it's a useful device, but it also provides a lot of information. So we were able to get cellular data that originates in Mexico and crosses over into the border. And what we did was we isolated it. So we isolated the area of Reynosa and the area of McAllen and said, let's find out where everybody's going. And let's find out how much time they spend. And let's estimate how much they're spending. So we can give it a concrete idea. And so I have a partner, a data partner, who was able to obtain this data, and we matched that data with Mexican statistics. Because normally when we do this, we use US statistics, and I'm a big advocate for using Mexican statistics and saying, what do they tell us about Mexican nationals? So this is what they tell us. 90% of homes in Mexico have some kind of cellular device. That's a significant amount of coverage. Inside of those homes, there's an average of 3 cell phones, minimum. So that's a significant number of coverage, and we use it to buy, to shop, to everything. And then the other thing we did was match the cell phone to its location in Reynosa, its household, so that we could estimate the household income. Otherwise, there's no point doing this research if we're going to estimate US income and say, whatever we don't spend, Mexican nationals do. No, no, no. We want to know what Mexican nationals can spend over here. That's the real question. So we did that too. And then we took an overall view of what the habits are. And the latest research, this is the last little nugget we're looking for, is how much is actually spent. And that is a challenge, but there have been a series of studies over the years that kind of put it at maybe anywhere between $130 and $200 every time they enter a store. So that is an interesting piece as well. The data set we got had originally almost 1 billion data points. So what we did was we narrowed it down to a few days. And then we mapped them. And this beautiful map is from the City of McAllen. Thank you very much, Raul Leos, for doing this. This is the coverage. Every day that Mexican nationals from Reynosa come over, that's where they go in McAllen. That's how intense the relationship is. And they buy and they go everywhere. I have a long list for you that you can see. But this is what they do when they're here. And then they go back home. That is the nature of the cross-border relationship. So this was the data set we actually used to create that map. We narrowed it down to several shopping days. Christmas, Dia de los Reyes, that period, Semana Santa, and then the Black Friday period. So it's a total of about a month's worth of activity. And in that month, there were 177 million visits to different places in McAllen by shoppers from Reynosa. That's a big, intense relationship that we really, really want to celebrate, actually, and explain to the world. So, oops, I put this in there so that you have an idea. It's only 33 days out of the year that we're looking at and what we're actually talking about in this particular data set. Here's the dates that we used so that you have an idea of what actual dates that we're looking at. So I went back to the calendar and I said, well, when typically do people shop? The week before Christmas, the week after Christmas. The entire week of Semana Santa, the entire week of Black Friday, because it goes on forever now, doesn't it? Black Friday started in June, I think, this year. So looking at some of these, right, dates and saying, when is the intensity? We see it in San Antonio. We see it, you know, all across the border, people coming and going. But those are the days that we have all kinds of sales going on. For the cell phone to qualify, you had to be resting in Reynosa for 48 hours, which means you had a home. You were there. It's not just, it just popped up. You had to be resting in a neighborhood in Reynosa for 48 hours before it crossed the border. And then it goes back. So this gave me confidence that we were talking about residents of Reynosa, not transient traffic that was coming through. The other thing is I did not look at the commercial traffic, looking at the typical residential traffic that comes over every day. I also went through and looked and see how much time people were spending, and I figured if it was over 8 hours, it was probably a worker rather than a shopper. So kind of eliminating and cleaning up some of that fringe helped as well. The devices don't tell me who you are. They don't tell me your address. They don't tell me anything about you, just that it was moving around McAllen. So some interesting facts before I show you the numbers. The majority of the visits were at an ATM. So that means people are still using cash for a lot of transactions, not credit cards. And if you look at some of the other studies, they're based primarily on credit cards. But this is a cash economy still. And it does turn out that cash is very important. And this is from international and national ATM data. 20 to 25% of the users go to convenience stores. And that does come up in the data. And the users most frequently use it 8 to 10 times a month. I probably would use it every day if I could. And then 25 to 34-year-olds use it a lot. And 35 to 50-year-olds use ATMs a lot. So a lot of people are pulling money out of ATMs to go shopping. The average amount is about $40 a month, about 700 and something pesos. So that's what people are doing as they go to the ATMs, and then they take that and they go shopping. They go to eat, they go to pay for all their activities. So the ATM is a very important piece of this story. So overall, here are some of the results, and I'm not sure you can see that very well, but I'll give you the gist of it. Every period that we looked at, we had something like 140,000 cell phone devices circulating in those time periods. Over 800 different types of businesses. The average time that the device stayed in the shop was about 20 to 25 minutes. So that means they're shopping at your locations. And, you know, a couple of other things that might be of interest in there to you. Actually, to be honest, I can't see because this isn't my new prescription, so I can't tell even what I wrote. But the point being is that we know the level of detail now. We know where everyone's going, the brands they're frequenting, the time they spend, the value of what they have in their pockets. The most interesting piece of this research to me was, and has always been my position, that the Mexican shopper has money to spend. The median income of the shoppers coming over from Reynosa is $46,000. And this image of low wage, low purchasing power ability is not the correct image. And that's where we have a lot of leverage in McAllen and across the border. A little bit more detail, I will leave these slides. I don't know if they'll be distributed, but I'll leave the slides. But here's what you see. You see the average number of unique businesses that were visited, and the minimum number of visitors per period, the maximum number, all sorts of time, the time, everything. It was a very detailed data set that we tried to make it into digestible numbers. And there you see the average income, 46,000, 45,000. So there's a middle class that is moving around along the border, that wants to shop, that uses both sides of the border. Okay, so the types of businesses we found in the data set, and what I did was I pulled out the business by the average income. So these are businesses in McAllen that were at the top of the list that were visited. And I have the entire list, we have addresses, everything. So this was for March. This was for January, and you see it changes over time. But notice the second one in there is the Bitcoin ATM. So people going and taking out some kind of cash to go, and the average income of the individual going to the outlet to purchase. And I think I did that one. Some more ATMs in Mexico, and then this is that detailed list. This is a list of the types of industries and the times of day when people were crossing to go to that particular industry. So it makes sense because agricultural cooperatives, agricultural workers would start earlier in the day, so their time is earlier. You have lunch, you have medicine, you have coming to do city business at City Hall, all the different times of day and the intensity of use of McAllen as people are crossing over the border. All right, so this all leads me to how do we estimate it and translate it into a numerical value for McAllen. So if there are 3 devices per house, how many of those devices actually spend? So I was very conservative in my estimate and said, okay, let's assume it's mom and dad spending, not everybody that's carrying a device, because everybody in the house has a device now, even their watches are devices. So to make sense of it, I just reduced it to 2 to say mom and dad are spending as they come over, dividing the number of devices, and then saying, what is the total value of that? Using that $113 per person. So in the Christmas period, maybe $15 million worth of sales, probably more. In the Holy Week, maybe 17 million per period. And then in Black Friday, another 16 million for a total of about almost $50 million in just 33 days of activity. And when we do the economic impact, that is, elaborate on that number by saying what else happens around it, how many jobs, what other activities are generated as a result of the spending, I come up with approximately $80 million for 33 days, which if you expand it out to the rest of the year, it comes out to about 25 to 30% of what happens in McAllen, is that intense relationship that we see between the shoppers in Reynosa and McAllen. And it's not just shopping at retail stores, it's going to the doctor, it's going to the facilities here, going to the, coming here, for example, going to City Hall, going to the hospitals, everything you can think of. McAllen and Reynosa they're so joined together that it's just one big ecosystem and everybody's using both sides for what they need. And that, I think, is the important story, because what happens here then gets told to someone else, and there goes your network. It blossoms. It starts to spread across the communities in a way that no marketing can replicate, because it's about the people and the communications and who you tell. Right, so the key takeaways are McAllen has a very strong bond with Reynosa, very strong bond. And the middle income households is always the one that no one ever says anything about, and yet that's the driving force of the relationship, the middle income household. The cross-border shoppers are helping build targeted industries, because you see them going to healthcare, you see them going to T-Mobile, you see them going to eat, all the different targets that the city is looking for and looking to develop, that's where they're going. The next thing is economic diplomacy starts at the local level, always. It's us building our relationships and talking with each other and sharing, and those businesses that we frequent. And then McAllen is dynamic and poised for additional growth, and this is where the growth comes from. And I hope that, I know it's going to continue, I just know it's going to continue. Okay, so action points. What can we do from here? Retail program that markets to the middle class, so that the middle class knows they're welcome. Expand up and down that shopping spectrum so that everyone is encouraged. Leverage the power of social media and communication and the opportunities and the uniqueness of this ATM pattern, because cash is still king for shopping along the border. And then leverage the developing technologies around these ATMs, because the ATM is indicative of the technology that's being used. So what is it? It's data centers, and it's cables running back and forth, and then it's connections between the financial institutions. It's so many things, but it's all embodied in one very simple thing, the ATM transaction. Those might be some of the takeaways that we can work on going forward. Oh, and there's a pause for the cause. That's me, Belinda Roman. Yeah. Apart from my work with St. Mary's, I also do economic analysis. And I thank you very much, and I welcome your questions, comments, and is the data going to be available or not really? Okay, yep. I'll wait for that one. But I'm happy to answer questions and give you as much information as I can about what we have available. There you go. Thank you for that. Do you need to stay?
Maybe.
Okay.
Are there any questions for Dr. Damon? I know the media is texting already and asking a few questions, so we're going to meet up with you here in a few minutes. Thank you. What a wonderful presentation. Cities across the valley cannot do our job in the most efficient way to get news out without the media. And I do want to thank the media partners who are here today: Sandra Sanchez, Emiliano, Roberto Gonzalez with Texas Border Business, Telemundo, TV Azteca, Univision, Nexstar. Our new general manager is here, Mark Garcia, thank you for coming, Brad Ginsburg, Social Life. We need you to tell the stories of the RGV, and we are here to be transparent and to work with you, so we thank you because you're here today. We celebrated heritage today, highlighted diplomacy, and looked ahead to McAllen's bright future. Thank you for being a part of this important conversation. May we continue building bridges, seizing opportunities, and shaping what's next for McAllen. For those in attendance, we realize you could have been anywhere today, and we are grateful that you chose to be right here with us. As we officially close, we invite all dignitaries and city officials to please come forward as we gather here on the staircase to take a beautiful picture and remember today. Thank you so much for joining us.